Welcome back. On this video, I want to talk about dog reactivity, whether it's dog-on-dog reactiveness or human reactiveness. A lot of times I think people are owners, particularly. You get a little misunderstood on what your dog is going through. You think you have an aggressive dog and you don't. You just have a reactive dog. Typically, most reactivity is fear-based or anxiousness, which is a subset of fear. And what projects itself, the lunging, the barking, the growling, the snapping, as aggression, really is your dog's attempt to avoid a conflict, not start one. And if you think about it from your dog's perspective, they don't overthink things. So your dog, they see a dog, they then react. Their reaction is then going to occur, and one of two things are going to happen. You're going to slam on the leash and tell them leave it, and obviously that's not working for you, or you wouldn't have to keep doing it. Literally, if that worked, you wouldn't need to do that again. So that clearly is not a solution that is working with your dog. Or there's a reinforcement occurring. So you are most likely not reinforcing your dog, but there is a reinforcement happening. And the reinforcement is your dog lunges, people go away. Hey, that worked. I'm going to keep doing that. Your dog lunges, barks, the dog goes away. Whether you take the dog away or the other people take their dog away, the same thing is happening. The danger has evaporated. Your dog thinks he's the cause of that. He's not breaking it down to, no, that dog was going to go to the other side of the street eventually, no matter what. That human was going to leave no matter what. The Amazon guy at the front door was going to leave and get back in his vehicle, whether your dog aggressed at him or not. But that's not how your dog looks at it. He thinks he solved the problem, so it's an accidental reinforcing behavior. So they believe that reaction is the result of the danger going away. So it's self-reinforcing. It's self-reinforced, boom. They're stuck in a loop and they just keep going through the loop. What we got to do is first stop this and then change this, the reaction. When they see a dog here, we need to change what occurs. Instead of a reaction, we need to teach a behavior. That's the picture that we need to build for your pup is instead of do this. Otherwise, you're only correcting and correcting. Not saying you wouldn't eventually correct your dog, but you would only do that after you've already shown and taught and make sure they understand the behavior that they should be doing first. You got to do that before you can apply a good correction. Otherwise, the correction is not a correction, it's just punishment. It has no meaning. And if you think about it from your dog's perspective, so you might know somebody that's an alcoholic. No alcoholic I've ever known woke up one day and said, today's the day I'm going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to start drinking 30, 40 beers a day. You couldn't do that. A human couldn't do that. You'd have alcohol poisoning. You'd vomit yourself to death. So what happens with an alcoholic is they drink a little too much, then they have a bad drinking habit. That habit then becomes a problem. That problem then becomes alcoholism. That's where we see a lot of reactive dogs. They start as just mildly reactive, nervous, anxious, a lunge here, a lunge there. But when they go into reaction mode and then they get that self-reinforcing behavior, boom, now it becomes a habit, a problem, and then they're an alcoholic. They're an aggressive dog. It still doesn't mean they're truly aggressive. It means they have no skills to deal with it, and the self-reinforcing behavior keeps feeding on itself. You're stuck in a loop. You got to break that loop. You got to stop this loop and then change the reaction to a behavior that you want to see. So the other problem that we would see a lot is you have corrected your dog for reacting, lunging, barking, what have you, and then you don't do anything. So then the dog goes back to reacting. You can't just correct a behavior away because you haven't taught the behavior. I call it floating. I've left my dog kind of floating. They're going to go back to doing what they were doing. If you look at it from a human perspective, if you were in a candy store with a 5-year-old toddler, and if you were not holding your toddler's hand with them right next to you, what are they going to do? They're going to start grabbing some candy. They're going to probably go crazy. You haven't raised a gangster, but they're going to do some things that you don't want them to. And then as a good parent, you're going to say, hey, leave that alone, stop. And as soon as you turn around and look somewhere else, they go right back to doing it. The reason, you left them floating out there. What you would do, of course, because you're a good parent, you would say, hey, you can't put your hand in that chocolate. People want to buy that. Come here. And now you keep your child next to you so they don't repeat that behavior. That is reactivity as well. If I don't, so when I say no or leave it, whatever your command is to stop that behavior, if I haven't shown them the behavior I want them to do instead, they're going to float and get right back into that loop. We have to show them the behavior. We have to establish a behavior. And ideally, it's on a command. So now we've provided structure so they can fall back on structure when there is something scary to your dog. Instead of trying to figure it out and making their way on their own, it's the anxiousness of that that's causing half of your problems, because they're trying to figure out what they should do every time a scary situation happens. That's one thing I love about obedience is obedience isn't just come, sit, heel, stay. Obedience is structure and routines, and dogs thrive on routines. So do humans. That's why we have habits. The more routines we can establish for our dog, the less behavioral issues and emotional issues we have with our dog, because they understand, oh, when I see this, this is what I do. If they don't do it, you say no, and then give them the command to do what that new behavior is, so they're not floating and going back to it. Thanks for watching the video. I'm Charles, co-founder of Canine Culture Dog Training in the Dallas metro area. And if you're needing help with your dog's behaviors or emotional issues, reach out to us. We'd love to be part of you and your dog's training journey. We train dogs from all over, as far away as Las Vegas, of course, Dallas primarily, but Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana. Give us a call. We'll chat with you and see what your issues are and see how we can help you. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and keep up to date with new videos that we post, as well as follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, we'll see you again.